broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
I was about to spill the details to you, but now that we have other people here, we gotta be mum about it. Yeah, so we'll let people start to trickle in here. But I guess I can go through my preamble a little bit. So welcome everybody to the Texas Mortgage Bankers Association's 2023-2024 Education Webinar Series, which is a part of the Education and Endowment Committee, led this year by Pam Jenkins and Dave Tannenbaugh. I'm Robbie Chrisman, live from a park somewhere near Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm moderating today's webinar, which is AI Advancements in Mortgage Lending, Insights from Industry Experts. I'm very excited to talk to these industry experts today. And just a heads up for those of you that are here, this webinar should take about an hour, but feel free to ask questions throughout the webinar. I'll try and address them over the course of this hour rather than all at the end. So if there's good questions, we'll mix them in for our panelists. You can access that functionality using the chat questions window. And as always, if you have additional questions, email Carol at the email address on the slide. So today's panel includes myself, Brett Brumley, Ken Perry, and Dave Savage. Many of you would know me as the son of Rob Chrisman. I've worked in the mortgage industry about 15 years. I have a daily podcast. I write a good chunk of my dad's newsletter. I have other video shows and webinars that I do. Well, that's enough about me. Let's get to the panelists here. Brett Brumley is CEO of Lender Toolkit. He is a trailblazer in the mortgage industry. I'm very happy to have him on the panel today because when I think of AI and automation, he is who I think of. He's the driving force behind Lender Toolkit's amazing success, and he's developed mortgage automation as a service platform, which includes AI Underwriter, a solution that streamlines the underwriting process for lenders and significantly improves the borrower experience. Plenty of experience in mortgage banking, certainly passionate about the digital mortgage space. So very pleased to have Brett on today. Ken Perry, which many of you, if you're TMBA members, may know, he's the president and CEO of the Knowledge Co-op, which is a social learning technology platform that's reshaping how companies in the mortgage industry communicate and collaborate internally. His journey began back in 2003 when he addressed the pressing issues of identity theft and cybercrime. And since then, he's become a recognized authority on the latest trends and regulatory challenges affecting the mortgage and real estate sector. Very excited to have Ken on today as he brings a unique blend of expertise and dynamic speaking style to every event he attends. And finally, last but not least, we have Mr. Dave Savage, who is passionate about turning loan officers and realtors into change agents and innovators in the mortgage field. As of today, millions of borrowers receive a mortgage coach experience powered by tens of thousands of loan officers annually. He founded Mortgage Coach to help lenders provide the best financial advice to the borrower. And now, as Chief Innovation Officer of Trust Engine, he's been leveraging the industry's first borrower intelligence platform to educate and empower data-driven mortgage professionals to become lifelong champions for their customers. Dave, your bio here is like War and Peace. I could go on and on and on. Let me finish there and say I'm very happy to have you, all you guys. It's good that we have a representative cross section in the mortgage industry. They said, who can we have? And I said, 4 white dudes between the ages of 30 and 60. We're set. It'll be perfect. So here we are, gentlemen. How are we doing? Dave, how you doing, man? I'll start with you.
Yeah. First of all, you crushed the opening. That was 3 minutes. You put out a lot of content. You framed us well. Grateful for you. Of course, I'm sure you learned to speak mortgage as a little kid, growing up with Rob Chrisman as your dad. So, I'm really excited about this call. The 2 panelists that we have, Brett, is been a pioneer in AI in the mortgage industry and someone that I want to learn from. So pumped on that. And then Ken Perry just rolled out an AI solution to the 45,000 loan officers that are part of the Knowledge Coop. Almost 200 lenders use that platform. So great panel. Applause to the Texas Mortgage, MBA for putting this on. And I'm just excited to be here.
Ken, I apologize for calling it the Knowledge Co-op. When I was in Texas, we had co-op in Austin. So that's first error as a moderator today. But can you briefly talk about?
No one noticed, by the way. No one noticed
until now. Yeah, perfect. Ken, can you talk about your AI solution that you've rolled out? Just give people a little background, and then Brett, I want to hear about AI Underwriter and some of the stuff you're doing over there.
Yeah, sure. And it did definitely burn into my head when you said co-op, because I get introduced all the time. The best is when people say, I've known him for so long, I've been a supporter of the Knowledge Co-op, and I'm like, what? So no, it's all right. You were thinking of something else. So yeah, it's our platform's used as an intranet and a training tool across the mortgage industry, and we just added the AI piece because we had to. It was something that I really wanted to do. As soon as I started diving into AI, I'm like, wait, we could probably solve for this, and so we started building a tool back in middle of last year. Ended up rolling out a beta in December, and it went live yesterday, and it can be accessed through Coop Plus, which is our app for the Knowledge Coop, where you get training, and then it can be accessed from enterprises. But basically, it's a conversation you have with our tool. It's got Fannie, Freddie, FHA, and VA. Next, we add USDA, and then we're going crazy from there, adding as much as we can. So, but it's just a conversation you have with something. Hey, I'm doing an FHA loan. How do you feel about lava zones? And it says, well, according to FHA, lava zones are this and that, and then it gives you the guideline where it found that, so you can always get it sourced. And it's just a super quick way to get your questions on guidelines answered with the accurate and exact data and sourced at the place that you can find it, so you can turn that into your underwriter. So we rolled out that yesterday. It was a big deal for us.
Congratulations. Brett, what are you working on over there at Lender Toolkit?
First off, thanks for having me on the call. I love talking tech, and I love talking tech with some of you guys. I've been on many of the podcasts with you. It seemed like last year was, a fever pitch of advancement towards new AI technologies, and it was almost hard to keep up day by day. And so coming on a podcast and then, seeing, Ken, your solution that has a lot of correlations to what we're doing, and, Dave, all the stuff that you guys have been advancing, it's just great to see the industry come together and bring advancement in AI. So I'm happy to talk about this stuff today. I think with our product, AI Underwriter, we've been in the space for, Lender Toolkit's been around for 9 years, but we've had our AI stuff for about 4 or 5 years now. And we're really starting to get into some of the newer technology behind the scenes on leveraging like large language models and stuff to make appropriate underwriting decisions. For the past 4 or 5 years, it's really just been about analyzing data, being able to take all those different data points from all those different sources and then be able to deliver an underwriting decision in 30 seconds, to even a consumer potentially, but certainly even to loan officers and processors, and then, naturally underwriters. We're really excited about the product.
Very cool. So let's start here and get into some of these questions that we have. And Dave, I want to start with you. How is artificial intelligence currently being integrated into mortgage lending processes? And then what specific benefits have you observed as a result?
Well, I'm going to start with just some of the low-hanging fruit that I don't think the industry uses enough. And everybody watching this right now, you can start using it today. I mean, right now I'm recording this conversation with Otter on my mobile phone, and I do that often when I'm doing webinars because I it's transcribing. I can reference what's being said. Like when Ken said something and I missed it, I go back and look and see what Ken said. I'm using a note-taking app called Fathom, which is extraordinary. It's helping me when I create content, not only create micro content from that faster. So there's just so many ways. And, I want to position everyone in the mortgage, like every loan officer in America needs to become a modern mortgage advisor. We need to go from loan officer to modern mortgage advisor. And with the NAR settlement, every realtor in America needs to become a modern real estate advisor. And I could get into the weeds on, what that means for a real estate agent, what that means for a mortgage professional. But when I think of AI, it's like, what are all the ways that a modern executive can use AI to be a more effective communicator, to be a more effective executive? And so there's just a lot of tech right now. And so far, by and large, I see people playing with it. I didn't even mention ChatGPT yet, but I mean, I'm trying to discipline myself to use that daily. I'm finding myself using it often as a search engine. Whenever there's research I'm doing or content I'm creating. But I do know some executives that are killing it, and I can just tell you, their ability to be effective communicators to their sales force with their company is just using the tech I just listed. And then when you get into, what I think everybody, when you think this webinar, hey, what are the technologies that can help with the loan manufacturing process? And Brett is a leader on that. I'll let him cover that in more detail. Most of where I will share, like my real passion for AI is more of a roadmap. I'm a financial literacy warrior. I've got a story around, like I think I broke every financial literacy rule growing up. I got the Sears card, when I was legally able to, and racked it up. I could go on with every financial mistake I made as a youth. But one of the reasons why I founded First Home IQ is I'm super pumped about how AI can be used to accelerate financial literacy in America, and how it can be used to turn loan officers into modern mortgage advisors faster. Maybe I'll throw some ideas out later on, but those are my thoughts to kick it off. Back to you, Rob. E.
Ken, just like people say to you, oh, I'm big sponsor, a big supporter of the Knowledge Co-op. People are like, Rob, I love your podcast. When I talk to them, I'm not Rob, okay? So Dave, no worries.
I go Rob. There's a hyphen between.
You're good, man. No worries. Ken, let's go to you, man. How are you seeing AI being integrated into mortgage lending processes?
It's a good question. I have to add that I'm sure Dave loves it when people introduce him as the best coach in the industry, and he's like, no.
No, I love it. I've worked hard to be a coach.
Okay, good. Just so you know, and I want to just say this right out the gate for this call, if you're listening to this call and you hear something, write it down so that you can actually use it later, because most of the AI I use on a daily basis was something somebody said. So like I pulled up Fathom, as soon as Dave said it, Brett nodded, and I went, done, right? He said, do it, Brett seconded, and now I will download it and I'll start using it. And that's how everybody can get better at AI, just by starting there. We were on a bus to Bandon Dunes like 3 weeks ago, and my buddy's like, oh, check this out. So on an iPhone 15 Plus, there's a button that you get as your extra button. ChatGPT put an integration in for that button. So now anytime I want to ask a ChatGPT question, I just hold that button down and it pops up and it wants to know what I want to know. And so I'll just start talking to it. And then when I'm done talking, it will then answer me. And then that's just an easy way to ChatGPT everything.
Wait a minute. That was the actual ChatGPT app that you just showed us?
Yeah. Yeah.
So by the way,
so it's
the ChatGPT app. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm doing that later. Yeah, totally. That's amazing.
Make your action button ChatGPT, because I don't Google search anything. And if you've noticed, Google has got ads more than ever before. They have ads. Facebook and Instagram is all ads, because people are kind of exiting and doing other things. And when they go and use ChatGPT, I don't need Google for anything at that point, because Google is so slanted towards who's paying them. And so far, the other AI I don't see is. One other thing, I just have to give you this, because we were in, was it Philly last year for MBA? And just pro tip for you, when you go to a conference, we get the list of all the parties you can go to after the conference is over. So you have like all the different hospitality suites. Well, they're all over Philly. And so I just went into ChatGPT and said, I need to go to this address, this address, this address, this address. Now map me a perfect map to make all of those things happen in the best order. And it did. It just made me a map, and I was able to do that. So like you can use it for literally almost anything. And that's just basic, ChatGPT or using Gemini. In mortgage, I think we're still seeing it. Brett was an early adopter of AI, because for data, it's the best freaking thing you could ever use. Like humans can't get through data as fast as computers can. And because Brett started that early, over time now he's already ramped up to where he's using these, the machines as well as he can be using them, and then he'll get better over time. So everything's going kind of that way of, AI being basically any data that you need to find, any data you need to put together. Credit reporting does it, where they're already able to pull things that are not credit related, because we all know credit scores are actually a horrible way to decide whether somebody's going to pay a mortgage back. I mean, it's okay, but a bunch of the stuff on credit reports is wrong. And the way that you pay, if that was totally successful, then in 2008, none of the people with over 700 credit scores would have dumped their houses, right? There's other things we should be looking at. And to do that, you can use a lot of other machine learning. So there's different ways to use the machines. And I think we're just at the very beginning of all of it. And if you talk to anybody like Brad or I on the AI side, will tell you we're just getting started. Like it's so much stinking fun to get in there and start developing. The trick is responsible and ethical development is what has to happen. And what I'm seeing is not all of it is that way. And so what you have to be careful about is you're entering into a world where you could very easily give away your trade secrets to the world by just using the wrong platform or using the wrong strategy. And we've seen that where coders have actually put in their code into ChatGPT into a general area, and that it can be very damaging. If you look at Google's Gemini now, when you go in there, it says whatever you type in Gemini will be looked at by humans, and it's a right there, right next to the search bar, and so that will help people go, oh, maybe I don't want to put my borrower social security number in there, but we do have to worry about people using it correctly still.
And Ken, I think you'll agree. Dave said something about integrating it into as many processes in your life as possible. Some of the best advice I got from a very tech-inclined friend of mine is find ways to use it every day. And that way you won't feel like this wave that we're on, which seems like it's growing and it's getting faster and faster. The wave won't pass you by. You'll be able to at least feel like, all right, I'm paddling on this wave a little bit. I can flow with it. And your skills and ways that you integrate it into your life will just get better and better. So Brett, over to you here. How do you see AI being integrated into the mortgage lending processes?
Yeah, I think it's important for us to step back a little bit and talk about what AI is. I think everybody's using AI as kind of a buzzword, but there's a lot of misnomers and misinformation about, how serious AI is. And so, AI has been around us for a really long time. Even Siri, as bad perhaps as that particular product has been AI. And so, there's several different types and categories of AI. First and foremost is automation. Whether it's an RPA or a robot clicking buttons for you, it's really akin to, what the humans have been doing, manual tasks, and how do you let the computer come in and step in and do some of that stuff. And so automation's been with us for a very long time, and there's a lot of products out there that support that. Then there's the more probably common AI, and that's machine learning behind the scenes, and that's really analyzing data. I was really surprised the more and more research we did to find that machine learning is really math. So for those of you who are listening that say math is never applicable in your day-to-day life, yeah, right. It's like what drives the entire world. So machine learning is mathematical models and using computers to analyze that data and think for themselves and make decisions. That's going to be something that's going to be really moving the industry forward in big ways in the future. But I would probably argue is not totally there yet. That said, machine learning has been part of document OCR and recognition of data for a very long time. And so many of you lenders have had that technology available to you and are using it in some way, shape, or form today. And then there's the common one that everybody's talking about, and really I think what's spurring the conversations today, and that's generative AI. That's OpenAI. That's ChatGPT, Gemini, and Bard, and all these different systems out there. And that's the ability for the machine to take all this data in and then get creative. In that creativity actually is some problems we'll probably talk about here in a little bit. But it outputs content and stuff. And I think the message I hear from everybody, and I definitely would echo, is what every loan officer and lender needs to do now is use AI in some way, shape, or form. You become comfortable with it. You understand what it can do, what it can't do. You see for yourself when we say things like it hallucinates and it creates unique problems and challenges, you understand that because you can get it to do some really, really interesting things. But in the lens of content generation, is probably one of the easiest and quickest ways for you as lenders to adopt the technology. When you help it write a new email, or you help it write a marketing plan for you, there's a lot of creativity that goes into that, and the level of accuracy needed there is probably lower than perhaps where Ken and I definitely play, which is in the underwriting space. Accuracy needs to be 100% every time, or we've got problems. Well, a really good email, you can output a framework for an email and then tweak it yourself and then send it out to your consumers and have a great experience. And so, yeah, Fathom is one thing I'm going to echo again, because I use Fathom every single day to record every conversation I have pretty much. Outside of mortgage, kind of a fun story. I bought some new land and decided to raise my hand and say, I want to be part of the HOA. Boy, that was maybe a mistake. They made me the HOA secretary. Didn't realize how much that was going to be. I thought it was just taking some notes, and I was like, well, I can use Fathom, and I'll just put Fathom in there. It'll help me out. Very true, actually. So whenever I'm in a meeting, it summarizes my entire content, gives me a transcript, gives me recordings, gives me an AI-generated summary, and it makes my job in that realm immensely easier. So AI is a tool that you can use to make your job easier, or to provide kind of a head start But overall, I think in the mortgage industry, it's all over the place, whether it's content generation or underwriting guidelines or analysis of financial data or underwriting, the space we play in. So my message to everybody here is start using it, start planning for it. If you're not, you're going to be left behind. Another quip I think I want to share with you is I saw on I think it was just an advertisement from a lender, or maybe it was a news article, and it said that pretty soon you're going to be able to have Yoda as your loan officer. And what that means, it's kind of a funny thing, and it definitely evokes some feelings for people. But what it means is that you can have an avatar, a digital representation of a person. It can be anybody from Yoda to Michael Jordan, and that person can actually talk and interact with you in real ways. And the question posed was, how are lenders going to compete when that level of technology is at your competitors? And so if you're not thinking of AI and how it's going to take you into the future, you're already behind. So stop what you're doing today and start looking into it and make plans moving forward.
Well, Brett, I think that people are starting to get the sense, one, just how powerful it is, two, all the different ways that it can help, and three, the benefits of it to their everyday life. But obviously, I mean, the Jetsons saw what the future was like 60 years ago, and we're not at flying cars and pills for dinner just quite yet. What do you view as the potential challenges or barriers that most of these mortgage lenders or companies in the mortgage space are facing when implementing AI technologies? What are the biggest barriers, and then maybe some common solutions to that you think people might not be seeing?
Yeah, man. I think I'd probably break it down by first, how do I use it? General knowledge, using it in your day-to-day life and getting past that fear of what it is. That's the first barrier that our industry has to overcome. There's already conversations being happened at the regulatory level and the government level about the usage of AI. And certainly I think we're probably going to talk about some of those things today and how AI is used in the lending process. And it needs to be really clear. The other thing is being realistic about the cost for it. We talk to a lot of lenders that are like, yeah, we're going to build our own AI app. Well, really what you're saying is I no longer want to be a mortgage lender. I want to be a technology provider and a software developer. And do you even have realistic budgets to do that? We've been playing in the AI space for 5 years. And even in the last year, we've invested a tremendous amount of time and money. And I wouldn't even say we've got legitimate products in the cutting edge area that are moving the needle yet. And so are you prepared for the level of investment and time to be able to implement it properly inside your organization? In that is opportunities, and perhaps it's self-serving, but I think it's very true, is you can use vendors and other people that have put that path forward to help you understand what to do and to produce a product that's useful for you. But I think the biggest challenge and barrier when we really start using it day to day is transparency. How is it being used? Why is it being used? What is the AI actually doing? And do we have enough controls in place that we're getting the results we want?
Dave, I would venture to say you deal with thousands and thousands of customers. And so you see barriers to implementation, not just in AI, but in a variety of ways for people implementing technology. When it comes to AI, what are the common barriers that you're hearing, at least from the clients or the people that you're talking to?
Yeah. Before I answer that, prior to this, part of my prep for the conversation was reading a report put out by Blackfin Group. They're a consultancy in the industry. It's a really well-written, comprehensive group. Someone had forwarded me the PDF, and I just want to recommend everybody check that out. I couldn't find a link online, but I put a link to the PDF at savageinsights.com. It's right at the top. That's a web page I use in the industry when I'm doing interviews, where I always just drive people to that Savage Insights. So check it out. I think like everything. I mean, I've spent my career in the mortgage industry, helping loan officers be able to say my advice makes a difference, and have that not just to be a tagline or bullshit. Like literally do that. And always my biggest challenge is adoption. It's getting loan officers to adopt something new. And the framework that I share from stage almost every time I launch Mortgage Coach or Trust Engine to a new lender is it starts with leadership. I mean, while technology has changed the world, the iPhone, we're on a digital experience right now. You're on a cycling trip and you're jumping on an event like this. I mean, technology has changed the world, but the single most important force that creates value, it's leadership. So it always starts at the top. And I think, you know, my message to anyone on this is it starts with you. And you know, if you're the CEO, you still have people that you report to. And if you're a servant leader, you support. So everybody has to lead up and lead down. And it starts with you. So, you know, truly the things that I shared early on to kick things off. And Robbie, I like the fact that you put an exclamation mark on daily. We are in a new era in housing. And I do believe this NAR settlement, you know, it's all over the waves. It's going to clearly impact the mortgage industry, but it's going to clearly impact real estate, but it's going to clearly impact mortgage as well. And it is a sea shift in housing. And so we got to be our best. It starts at the top. What I would put, you know, tell everybody to do is have a personal why. Like anytime I want to adopt a new technology, I take a few minutes and I write down why. You know, why do I want to use this technology? And it's personal to me. By the way, that personal why changes, but I've done that for myself. You know, I know why I want to be a leader when it comes to AI, how I use it to be a modern, effective executive. I know why I want loan officers to use it to become modern, data-driven mortgage advisors. So you know, I know it sounds simple, and I'm not giving, you know, like, let's call it tech advice, but I think it's leadership. Have a why, and then the third step or the second step in that process, it's repetitions. You know, it's like, how many times can I lead by example daily? And the number I always lead with is 20 reps. I know there's a lot of numbers on what it takes to create a habit, but if you can just do something 20 times, one, you'll get good at doing it. Two, you'll get some feedback from the world that tells you what you're doing is better. And then the third step is share the success. So I would just push everyone who's watching this, whether you're watching the recording, whether you're on this live, follow those 3 steps. Like, what's your why? After this event, take 15 minutes. What did I learn? What am I going to do? Why am I going to lean into AI? What are you going to do 20 reps of? Maybe it's 20 reps, 20 days straight. I'm going to use ChatGPT. And then when you have success and you see results, share them in a very effective way. You know, we use Slack in our company. Most of the mortgage industry uses Teams. Email's probably not the most effective way to share your success. Although, you know, sending out a well-crafted, thoughtful email around someone in the organization that used AI in a very thoughtful way, you know, the way you share that success story organizationally, you know, that's, you know, probably not the answer you were looking for, Robbie, or you expected, but those are my 3 steps on taking action and putting this stuff into action.
Do you mind if I jump in on the sharing your success stories? I think you can't underestimate how powerful that can be at the lender. One of our customers actually is using social media, you know, which is a powerful force for lenders and originators. And every time they achieve a result, what's that?
And human beings, like,
yeah, it's hugely impactful for our world. And you know, when lenders achieve a result of getting a clear to close in 2 days with us, they take that technology and they blast it out to social media and say, look, we just got a clear to close in 2 days. That itself is a catalyst for loan officers to say, we want that experience. And you can use that for recruiting. You can have borrowers go, well, that's a cool experience. And they talk about that stuff. So make sure you share your wins and successes. That is so powerful. Good insight, Dave.
Ken, I do want to bring you in here. I think we kind of understand the barriers to implementing AI. How do companies overcome those? How do we actually get to the point where it's being implemented? And maybe this is a wider, it doesn't have to be limited to just AI, because I think companies out there are inundated with, hey, this is the latest and greatest tech, put this in your stack. And a lot of salespeople might not even know what tech their company has, or they're not being trained well on it. And so even if it is the best tech, it's not necessarily getting the use that it should, or it's not being, it's not living up to its full potential. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it goes to a core issue with the mortgage industry, and that is we don't do a lot of training and we don't do a lot of community building. And so, Dave, you forgot to say what people use for their internal collaboration is the knowledge coop. So we have a lot of clients that are dropping in their tips and tricks into the Knowledge Coop and creating Knowledge Coop communities where their groups can actually form around this and discuss it inside the coop and give each other links. The other problem we have, as a core problem in the industry, is we have a lot of non-tech adapter individuals. What's the best way to say this? We have, I mean, the average age of a mortgage professional is still, I believe, in the 50s. And so we don't have people that are like, give me that next tech, let's go. And some people are, but we don't have a great amount of people that are ready for the next tech. And we hear people say, well, we're kind of an old school lender. And I think the first thing people need to realize is this is like when the internet came out, saying, we don't do internet, like we really do just everything has to be in writing and in front of me, or I just don't trust it. Like, you're gonna die. And so you have to embrace these large tech shifts if you want to succeed in the future, or somebody's gonna come kill you. And one exercise I always tell people to do that we do at our company is you get a group of people together and you say, let's make a list of everything that if somebody did it, they could beat us. And so what could somebody do to beat us? And then you make that list and then you go, cool, let's go do that, because otherwise somebody's going to beat us. And I think with AI, the one who leverages AI the best is just more efficient. They're faster than you. If you're not doing it, they're going to be faster. Dave, you just said a study, and you said the Blackfin study. I just picked up my phone real fast and I said, hey, give me a summary of that Blackfin study on AI. And it just started talking to me about the AI Blackfin study, the exact one you're talking about, told me all about it. I had to shut it down because I'm on a call. But I'm not going to go try and find that. Like, I'm just going to ask AI to tell me where it is and what it is, and it's going to give me a big summary. Like, the advancements are so good. We went to a conference. Get this. I spoke at a conference in Bend, Oregon. The guy up there on stage was talking about the new credit reporting changes and appraisal changes. So all I did is took a picture of his slide, and with an iPhone, you get a picture. You can highlight something, copy it, and then paste it anywhere you want. Well, he had a link up there, so I just clicked on my picture and hit go there, and then it went there, and I just took the link, fed it to ChatGPT, and said, give me a summary of this credit change, and it gave me an entire summary. And so that speed at which people can do things is awesome. It's just getting people to realize that it's time to change and they need to change, and somebody's going to beat them if they don't, is the first thing. And I love what Dave said. You know, getting small groups together and saying, share with me what you've like been using AI for. So at the very base, like user level, that's what we can do. At the company level, what we can do is, yes, don't be afraid to embrace a new technology that's going to make you faster and better, even if it costs a little money. Because companies don't have a lot of money right now, and they're like, oh gosh, but some do. And they are embracing this, and they are investing in it, and they are going to go faster. And then, Brett, that was such an awesome statement that you made about, yeah, don't worry, we'll build it. We're fine. This isn't just super quick to build. Yes, you can code using AI right now. It's pretty amazing how fast it can kick out coding language, but you still need humans to be able to manage that, right? So my favorite statement is you won't be replaced by AI, but you will be replaced by somebody leveraging it better than you. And so Brett, a tip for your HOA, one more step. Take all those notes out of the HOA meeting and then ask the new keynote generator in ChatGPT for. Just go in and say, here's the notes. Can you make a presentation? It will create a killer presentation for you. Now you have a keynote presentation. You can put it up on the screen, and it took you 3 minutes. So again, it's that speed. It's understanding the speed and then sharing with others what you've been able to come up with at the base level. And at the company level, it's going, okay, which of these makes sense? How are they handling my data? And of course, protecting the data over everything, because we just had a 50 million user breach at AT&T, and they're AT&T, like that's a pretty big company. The size of these breaches is huge. And so you have to make sure that your third parties, because now everybody's looking at third parties, right? So is the third party protecting data? Be careful with AI companies that come out and go, no, your stuff's totally protected. Cool, how? Like ask them that next question, because I've seen a few that I'm like, oh no, like that's not safe.
So to those people on this call, those attendees of this call that feel like this is drinking from a fire hose, I would say go on ChatGPT or go on Bard, one of these open source places, enter a prompt, see what AI can do for you, see how powerful it is, and I think you'll be amazed and you'll go, holy smokes, I could be saving so much time in my day, at least with this. And that's just one example of AI. You know, more AI Underwriter from Lender Toolkit is something totally different than ChatGPT. but finding ways where you can see the power of it so you can become a believer, I think is really valuable. And Brett, I do want to go to you and ask about examples of successful AI applications when it comes to improving risk assessment and underwriting accuracy. Can you give some examples for our attendees here?
Yeah, and obviously that's a topic I'm really passionate about, because our whole company is kind of based around that. But before I answer you, this is why I love podcasts like this. I think some of the obstacles to implementing technology is education. And so, always be learning, always be using the technology and podcasts and people to help advance your career and make you more efficient, smarter as a loan officer. And so always be learning. And one of the first prompts I ever put in AI ChatGPT was, how do I get started with AI? Right? And it gave me a detailed roadmap of things to do. And so even if you feel like you're not equipped to start, you can use the technology to do that. I've just learned like 4 or 5 different strategies that I'm going to employ after today, just from this one call today. Ken, like the way you use AI is just brilliant. The fact that you're using it for summaries and other things, it's great. And I think that's really some of the successful applications you see in not only evaluating risk, but underwriting. One of the biggest barriers to implementing technology is fear. And how do you overcome fear? You have to be really open and transparent, especially at the leadership level, to be able to use the technology and get that adoption up. Naturally technology, any technology, whether it's the car, the internet, even the usage of email, started to erode jobs. And I think it's a sensitive subject, especially nowadays. And nobody wants to lose their job. Nobody wants to lose their job to technology, but it is a reality and it's going to happen a little bit. And so if you as leadership don't address that and talk about that openly with your team, all you're doing is letting that fear rule your decisions. And so the way that we can implement technology immediately with underwriting in such a critical aspect is we're open with the underwriting team and operational teams about what the tool is doing. And Ken, you said it really, really well. Our technology is not designed to completely replace underwriting at all. In fact, it's how do you make an underwriter use technology to do their job faster and more accurately. That makes the entire organization better, more efficient, more competitive, and frankly, way more profitable. When an underwriter makes a singular mistake that they just inadvertently missed because they didn't read the guidelines, they didn't use knowledge co-op to be able to, I did it already, you guys have set that stage for me, but didn't use the knowledge coop to immediately get the answer they needed from the underwriting guideline, and they just missed paragraph 5C from a 700-page document, and they make a mistake and you get an unpurchasable loan. You save one of those. And I'll tell you right now, you can pay for all the technology we're talking about right now completely with that one mistake that's been prevented. And so how do you successfully implement it? You start using it. Now, you don't go all in. You don't just implement a technology like AI Underwriter, let all of your underwriters go, and then trust me, who you don't know, to completely take over your lending decisions. That's not realistic. That's not where the industry is, and it's fraught with problems. But what you do is you share that with your underwriting team. In fact, one of the most successful methods we used to be able to implement technology was we had a really a customer, a prospect, that was questioning whether the technology did what we said it did. So we did a man versus machine. We actually sat down and said, okay, underwriter, in limited scope, we want you to underwrite the appraisal and the credit report. Go through that in detail, write down all of your conditions, and let us know when you're done, and we'll compare our notes. Well, first and foremost, it took them an hour or so to go through that information, write up all their stuff to be able to talk about it. We were done in 5 seconds, completely done and waiting for it. We were talking, and just, building relationships because we weren't focused on that complicated process. And they found things that we didn't. And so that for us as a technology provider is great feedback. Like, how do we improve the technology? But we found like 25 things they didn't. And so right there showcases the power of technology and using data to analyze things in a consistent, standard fashion that can improve accuracy, reduce your risk, and ultimately, improve your profitability of the organization model.
That is
I want to add something if I can real fast. What you just said is awesome. What we always ask ourselves is, what if it works? We ask that all the time. So if we've got like a big, on the AI rollout, we're like, what if it works? How many people do we have to hire? How do we have to manage? So early on in a decision, you start with what if it works so that you build your plan with the anticipation of it being hugely successful, right? Underwriters, in your scenario, Brett, underwriters need to go, okay, well, what if this works? Like, what does that mean for me? Like, what exciting things could I be part of if I don't have to do that job that I've been doing? And I think the split we're going to see, and I've already seen it, is there a split between people who go, wait a second, if the hard work isn't there of the tedious going through and spending hours looking at this, if that's not there, well, I guess I have no job. And they will opt out. And we've seen that where people have opted out, like, I guess you don't need me anymore. And then the other side of it is somebody going, okay, if that works, my brain can be used way better now working in this area. And so it's not something to fear unless the only value you bring is you can do super tedious things that can be replaced.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, you've got a problem, and you've got to be able to think differently and go, maybe this doesn't kill me. What else? What else could it do? What if it doesn't kill me? Where's my new place?
The what else it can do is such an interesting point for us. So your question was, what are some successful examples? I would say the most successful example we've seen didn't even come from us. We came to the market and we're like, we've got underwriting. I understand underwriters. I'm an operations guy. I'm a secondary marketing guy. We're going to solve underwriting challenges. Well, one of our first customers, that had been using the platform for a little while, he goes, why are loan officers not using this technology? And I was all, why would loan officers use an underwriting product? I pushed back. And he was like, well, why can't you give the borrower, the consumer, an underwriting decision immediately upon taking an application? And I was all, that's crazy. That's crazy talk. And I'm now pushing back against my customer for wanting to use our technology more, right? And so it challenged me to look at the situation differently. And we actually rolled that technology out to their originators and let them underwrite files completely, get a legitimate conditional approval at the loan officer level. And that's how we can actually achieve clear to close in literally 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. We had that same company come to us and said, you know what, we're having a problem. And I'm like, oh boy, what do we got to do? And he said, we're closing loans too fast. The borrowers are actually not prepared mentally to move into their house because it only took 7 days for us to get a full-blown approval when we asked for closings. So we're having to educate the borrowers. I mean, Dave, that's right up your category, on what are the steps to expect as we close loans. What's the next step after we actually can get something done in 5 or 6 days? That conversation alone shifts everything about mortgages. How we collect data, how we collect pay stubs, how we even take an application. It starts to shift things. So think about it in different ways.
Yeah,
Well,
I wanted to throw something in. So, I knew that question was going to be answered, and I had a kind of a thought out answer if the question came to me, how I'd answer it. But I decided, like, on my mobile phone while this conversation was taking place, to just put in ChatGPT, what are the question was, ChatGPT, what are the 5 ways that lenders and loan officers can use AI today? And the answer was spectacular. I mean, number 1, automated underwriting and risk assessment. By the way, it pre-framed it with, these AI applications not only make the lending process more efficient, but also improve accuracy and enable lenders to offer more tailored and responsive services to customers. Anyways, I mean, it was really, like, way better than my research notes. But number 2, personalized customer service. Number 3, fraud detection and prevention. Number 4, portfolio management and optimization. Number 5, streamline documentation and compliance. So now, I'm not advocating that we kind of outsource critical thinking and brainstorming with AI, but it's a great research assistant. And so I hope if people get nothing else from this, that everybody on this call today put some type of a daily, I'm going to do X daily. I'm going to read something daily. I'm going to use ChatGPT daily. I'm going to start using Otter Notes daily. I'm going to start whatever you pick it. First of all, pick your why. And here's the last thing I'll say on this point. If your why, it's like, why not? Like, I'm not doing it. Like, you have an issue with it. Here's the deal. You're running a race to achieve your goals. Whether, whatever seat on this bus you're sitting in, you have goals that you want to achieve, and you're running a race to achieve those goals, and your competition is running downhill with the wind at their back. And if you are not using AI daily, you're choosing to run that race uphill through a boulder field with the wind at your face. Like, that's the reality of the world that we live in today. I don't know. I want to win the race that I set for myself, and I'm going to choose the downhill route with the wind at my back. So that was the thought.
Couldn't agree more. And I should say to you guys, my computer doesn't seem to be very happy about being out in the sun without being charged. So I'll switch over to my phone if you lose me. But Ken first and Dave second. And any specific examples of success stories that you think are worth sharing with our audience?
Yeah, first of all, Robbie, I hope you have sunscreen on. Just want to make sure that's happened because okay, good. So yeah, we had the funniest thing. We rolled out Coop AI in beta, and the first comment we got from the first user was, "I just won an argument with my underwriter, and the deal's gonna close." And that I almost cried. I was like, "We're making a difference! Like, we do this to try and make a difference." But the funny thing is, AI eliminates a lot of that. We've always done it this way. And when I was a loan officer back in '98, I've run this company for 21 years. In '98, I was a loan officer, so it's been a minute. But my favorite thing to do was go argue with the underwriters, because I would always just bring the guidelines with me and be like, well, this is what I'm reading. What are you reading? And oftentimes they'd be like, well, I hadn't seen that part, or I had found something they weren't thinking about, because we learn to like hear, and then we stop learning, and then everything that's up here we just decide isn't the thing. And so this eliminates all of that. And so that's my favorite thing, is we can go, well, this is what the data says, or this is what the guideline. Like, guidelines aren't secret, right? They're available to everybody. They just have been sucky to find. And so now you can go, okay, well, this is, a much more make sense way to do it. And in like 2 seconds. So that's my favorite, just because, mainly because it's ours. But there's just so many winning scenarios. It's just people have to commit to open their eyes to it. The other thing I want to point out is my wife hates AI. And so I know there are people out there that hate it, because she's like, this is going to stop us from thinking. And she's catching me I'm on vacation right now. She's catching me on vacation, use ChatGPT for things. And she's like, you're going to stop using your brain. And I'm like, okay, but I don't need it because it's there, right? There is some value to still thinking, because your brain needs that exercise. So the more you use it, the more you lean on it. And I tend to agree with her that we still need to know. And one last thing on that is, like, nobody can calculate an APR with a notepad anymore, right? Not many people can. There's like 3 people left who can still do that. So the problem is, as we implement these new technologies, the trick is not forgetting why we did it the way we did it. So yes, we're using something new, but if you use new technology, and this is kind of the risk of the future, you end up, like, if you were to, for example, use AI for figuring out who to lend to, AI would lean you in a way that would violate fair lending standards all day long, right? And so we can't just be like, who should we lend to? And it's like, rich people, that's a horrible way to do it. And so we do have to go, okay, we did it this way because we wanted to protect for fair lending reasons, we wanted to protect for privacy reasons, we wanted to protect for advertising reasons. Like, I've seen so many bad advertisements ChatGPT has created recently that people have posted on Facebook, because they think that it must be good at telling me how to market, so I'm just going to put in what it said. No, it'll break the law all day long. And so don't just, use it the way that it gives you information and not think about all these other pieces.
Yeah, the data that you input into it makes a vital difference about the outputs you get. So I think that's important for people to keep in mind. Dave, anything to add on this subject before we move on?
No, let's move on.
Cool.
I'll give a short answer. I have not got a lot of tangible success stories yet. Like, and I haven't seen a lot in the industry. So I do propose, the leaders in the industry that have tangible success stories, that we all need to be advocating and sharing those more. But yeah, let's move on to the next one.
Well, so the next thing is customer experience. And Brett, let's start with you. We'll go around the horn. What role do you see AI playing in enhancing customer experiences through the application and approval journey? And I say that under the added context of, it seems like that is so at the forefront right now of who's going to win business going forward and who isn't. Customer experience. So how can AI help with this?
Yeah, I'm actually glad I get to answer this question, because as I said, I just barely got a loan, and I got the opportunity to go through it as a borrower. And, a long-time mortgage professional, my first thought was, I got this. This is going to be the easiest process in the world. I'm not stressed. I understand what they're going to ask me before they even ask, and I was way overconfident. And I used the lender, and I'm not gonna lie. They did the typical thing that lenders did. Is when I applied for a loan, they're like, give me 2 months bank statements, 2 pay stubs, give me your tax returns, really basic information. And I diligently put time aside to, get all that data and collect all that data. And, I felt like I was pretty busy, and I had some like personal things going on at the moment, vacations and work trips. And so I was like, this is the time I'm going to get that information. I submitted everything, probably in the most detailed borrower you'd ever see. Well, I waited about 2 weeks, and, I no feedback from the lender in any way, really, other than, we're working through underwriting. And they gave me a whole new list of things. And I was like, okay, got this. I expected that. And went and got all my documentation and filled it all out and everything. And, they were like, okay, I think we got this good. We got approvals, right? I mean, maybe this is resonating with some of you loan officers. It's happened before in the past. Well, a couple of days went by, and they're like, oh, we need one more thing. Can you go ahead and get that? And I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to get a little frustrated. I'm like, you could have done a better job at, doing your underwrite. So I provided that documentation. A couple more days later, they're like, oh, we need one more thing. Can you just please get this? In fact, I need you to clarify this thing on this document you sent over. And I'm like, okay, I can get that. So I went and did that. And, I'm getting a little frustrated. Well, long story short, it fast forwards to the day before my settlement deadline expires. And they need documentation from the IRS that they just barely discovered last minute, because the underwriter read a sentence on a screenshot from the IRS, right? And so I go, I'm a little stressed now because I'm gonna have to extend my my real estate contract, and I go to the IRS website to solve it, and it's unavailable. Like, it's just the answer to their question was not available from the IRS. I'm gonna have to call the IRS. Can you imagine the level of stress I'm going through at this point as a consumer? But I did solve the problem. I got the loan. I closed it. But how can AI improve customer experience, transparency, and accuracy faster? Give that information when the borrower's engaged up front, when they're talking to you, when you've got their ear, when they're really excited about getting that mortgage loan and working with you. And if you provide that different customer experience, I tell you every day, they will sing your praises and tell everybody about that experience. And I think that will improve the overall approval journey through the mortgage industry for sure.
Ken?
I'm still thinking, do they know what you do for a living, Brett? Like, to put you through that?
Like, if you used our AI underwriter product, lender, come on, this would have been no problem. But they weren't that interested in the moment, so I just got my loan.
Yeah. I was distracted with that story because I was thinking of something, and then I heard that story, and I'm like, okay, here's the funny thing is, it's so easy for loan officers to use the technology to do loans now and do them way better, way faster. And that fear about being replaced, I think about going into a restaurant where you have to walk up and you place your order. Like, think about McDonald's, right? You walk into McDonald's, a real person types the things you're ordering into an iPad, right? And then it goes in, which is literally what it takes no training to know this is what I want. So restaurants have gone to more of a, now customer, you walk up and just do it. And I don't know if you guys have been to one of these, but I went to a burger joint, I walk up and like, they just have an iPad. And at the end of the iPad journey where I'm like burger, fries, whatever, it said, cool, what would you like to tip? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I did all the work here. And so it's funny that even the ways that we have kind of replaced humans with tech, the humans fight back against that, right? As a human, I want you to do that, and I want you to give me a great experience. And so Brett's got a loan officer on the other line that's like, oh, now we just need this, now we just need this. Computers are better than that. That should have not happened, right? If the data doesn't change, the result shouldn't change. And so that human, their job and responsibility is to be friends with Brett, make Brett feel like $1 million, and they're just literally typing things into the computer that Brett can type things into, but they know what they're doing and how to do it, and they have a customer service to provide, right? They need to provide that service to make him feel comfortable. So I kind of went on that thought in my head of like, no, we still need humans to make people feel great about the process. And if humans suck at using the computers, I'm going to go find another human that's way better and that almost brands themselves in that way. And so the industry is really easy to beat right now if you just go, did this happen to you last time? Because Brett, your story is not unique. Sadly, this story is the story of doing mortgages, right? For a lot of people. And so it's pretty easy to beat that just by saying, these are the tech pieces we've implemented inside of our company so that you're not going to have to deal with that ever again. If you look at what Rocket Mortgage did, push button, get mortgage was like the most brilliant freaking marketing campaign ever. Because everybody's like, wait, last time it was more than pushing a button. Well, it's still more than pushing a button. That was just a branding piece, right? But again, going out and saying, no, we've done it so that we can deliver to you something way better, way faster. And then you implement those tools, you can win at the business better than you're winning right now.
Yeah, and frankly, I'm the target market for a lot of lenders. I'm middle-aged, 40 years old. I'm just on the cusp of the millennial. So I demand technology in my experience. In fact, if you're not using technology, I'm not even going to talk to you. And that's not because I run a tech company. That's just because of my age. Anybody younger than me, you ask them to fax something in, they're going to go, what is a fax? And you're going to lose the business. They're going to go find a lender that they feel is more technologically savvy. You have to consider that if you're going to improve your customer experience.
And Brett, 50 is middle age. It's not 40.
Okay, I'm not quite there yet then.
Well, I'm going to flip that around and say, especially in the mortgage industry, it's always going to be a relationship-based industry to an extent. So you can't have customer experience without humans involved on some level. So finding the blend of those two is in my opinion, the best way to move forward. Dave, you have any thoughts on customer experience with AI?
Yeah, rather than focus on customer experience with AI, my closing thoughts are going to be around just putting an exclamation mark around the fact that this NAR change is a sea change in housing, and I think it's an extraordinary opportunity. I believe that realtors, need to become real estate advisors and deliver value beyond the transaction. And there's no doubt AI will have a role in that, but technology will have a massive role in delivering a modern experience to a buyer who's like, should I buy now? Should I wait? Should I work with a realtor? Should I not? And so it's a massive opportunity for every lender listening to this. If you want to help with the transition, if you want to win in a big way, gain market share, improve conversion, reduce price exceptions, improve profitability, turn your loan officers into modern mortgage advisors that can help real estate agents make this transition. So AI absolutely plays a part in that. Technology plays a part in that, but leadership is what it's all about. Are you delivering effective leadership, meetings within your company? I think the most important job in mortgage is the branch manager. Are you really leaning into your branch managers to ensure that they're getting the training and the education they need? And are you holding your branch managers accountable? It's, most branch managers, it's a comp plan, not a leadership role. Are you making sure that every loan officer in your company has leadership? And if it's not the branch manager, then it's the regional. But those are my closing thoughts. Like this AI, it's a tool. We got a new tool, a new crescent wrench. If I was a carpenter, I got a bitchin' new tool. But what good is it if the leadership of organizations is not teaching, their loan officers how to use it, when to use it, to deliver an experience that, makes your company proud.
That's good for you to put a bow on it, because we are just about out of time. Ken, I want to hear your closing thoughts, and then Brett will close with you.
It's the same thing. We rolled out 100 hours of education on how to do mortgages over the last 2 years. And when we talk to our clients about it, we're like, hey, we've got all this training for you, we've got all this education. And they're like, yeah, we're just not really spending money on anything right now. And it's like, well, so we're just not going to learn. Like it needs to be a priority. Learning has got to be a priority at the top level. Those who have, taken advantage of it are more, they're going to be more successful when they focus on learning, when they focus on these tools. This AI it'll go the way of a lot of other technologies in mortgage if we don't put a focus on training. And one last thing, I hate HubSpot. And that's just a statement I'll make. We use HubSpot. I hate HubSpot. I really don't hate HubSpot. I actually think it's amazing. I think it's amazing. I don't know how to use it. So when I was asked to get in there and use it, I'm like, what? I hate this thing. So we need to change our verbiage away from I hate HubSpot to I need to invest more time and energy into learning this tool that my company's given me. But the default is you don't want to make it about you. So you're like, oh, I hate that system. And so my challenge to everybody on the call is stop hating I hate that technology. Start reframing it by saying, I need to get better at that technology. And then what Dave said, I'm going to do that by spending 1 hour a week on that technology. Like I'm going to force myself to sit down and learn it. And by the way, when you do that, you're going to love the technology. I will love HubSpot because when I focused on it, I'll all of a sudden not be so scared of it. It's really not a hate thing.
So I suppose closing thoughts,
Yep, take us
I'm
home.
actually going to wrap this up with a non-technology thing, and kind of a plug. I went out to a sales conference for Synergy One, and their whole entire theme was really about rethinking how you do business. And if you need to be that thought leader, you need to rethink all those existing processes you have, how you've done business. They had a really good book that's written by an industry leader that we really respect. So I'm actually going to close with a non-technology solution. It's called Rethink Everything. It's a great book. Go look at it. It's been written by an insider in this space, a couple insiders. And, there's sections in here about using AI and generative AI. And I think, again, the message is continue to learn. Each and every one of us on this panel love to talk tech. We would love to meet with you and just talk about what your strategies are, even if you don't buy anything from us. That's not even the point. We like to talk about technology and how to advance our industry. And so reach out. We can share white papers with you, studies, ROI metrics, how to become more profitable in the secondary market, all sorts of things. So just reach out to us and talk. We'd love to have a conversation with you. So thanks all for hosting this, and I really appreciate you inviting me on it. And the insights today were really invaluable.
Yes, well put, all of you. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to Texas MBA. Thank you to the people that attended. For those looking for more info, check out texasmba.com. It was a pleasure hosting this and being on with you gentlemen. There is an upcoming schedule on the Texas MBA website of upcoming webinars. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, everybody.